my last video, I mentioned how Smash Ultimate's seeing success from all across the tier list, and I still stand by that. Some of the best players in the world have losses to characters that were considered like bottom 20 by some of the player base, which is insane to see. And while most people would see this and go, oh wow, this character should be higher on the tier list, I see it in a different way. Yes, while the tier list can shift around a lot, I think this is more of a sign of mid and lower tiered characters getting better and more explored. An amazing example of this is Kirby. On the official tier list, Kirby is placed as the 8th worst character in the game. So you would probably assume, oh, this character is practically worthless and doesn't have any scenario where playing them would help you at all. And most of Ultimate's scene would agree. However, the results in a fair few top-level opinions are actually highly contrasting that viewpoint. Let's take a look at Gilhu, a Kirby from Mexico who has some insane wins and placements. Most notably, he has the highest Kirby placement at a Super Major, with him getting 13th at Smash Factor 11. This includes wins on Ashimo and Andres FN, with Ashimo only taking one game in the Kirby-Ryu matchup, which is his solo main. Alongside this, both Gilhu and J-Jaw have great records into Ryu, with J-Jaw having a great record against Vendetta's Ryu, and outside of one local player who's fought them 19 times, Gilhu doesn't exactly show many losses to Ryu. From what I can tell, this seems to be a factor of Kirby's small hitbox, allowing him to crouch under a lot of Ryu's main game plan tools. Moves like up tilt Tatsumaki and Shakunetsu actually just full on miss Kirby when Ryu does them, with him having to rely on down tilt if he wants to get any sort of combo, and even then, down tilt leads to a lot less impressive combos than up tilt does. With his fireball not working, that also leaves Ryu having to approach Kirby, which is typically where Kirby can struggle. Kirby doesn't exactly have the tools to force scraps. He's stubby, and he doesn't have a good projectile. So characters that are forced to approach him are a lot more comfortable for the pink puffball. Because while Kirby may struggle to force a scrap, once he's in on you, he can kinda just blow up your stock. Add on the fact that edge guarding is a possibility, and it leaves the matchup either even or Kirby advantage. This theory is also why Kirby actually matches up rather nicely into most of the FGCs in Smash. Characters like Ryu, Ken, Terry, and Kazuya. Because all of them have to approach, and when they do, it pretty much just disregards Kirby's main weakness. And looking at a matchup chart made by the 2 best Kirby players in the world, and common opinions I got from the Kirby player Discord server, it seems I'm not totally wrong here. With Gilhu and J-Jaw putting all of the FGCs into even. And according to these opinions as well, there's Fox, who goes into this with probably similar methodology. Fox is a fast brawler, so he has to scrap with Kirby, with a lot of his moves being aerials that will most likely whiff if Kirby just holds down on the funny gray stick on his controller. Either that or just get anti-aired by Kirby's amazing up tilt. Add on that edge guarding Fox is more of a staple in any matchup into the main spacey, and yeah, it's reasonable to think Kirby might actually stand a chance there. This matchup chart also sheds a lot of light on other potential matchups that Kirby does well in. While I don't think you should take top player matchup charts as gospel, I do think it's something you can definitely go off on as a start. Seeing characters like Sephiroth and Min Min there can be a little bit jarring, but a crouching Kirby just doesn't seem to mind their main spacing tools. Add on how neither is too great up close and how both are amazing weight and heights to get comboed by Kirby, and you can actually start to kinda see it. We've also got Joker, who I can also kinda see. As a Joker main, it's very hard to hit Kirby with Gun and Eha, and Joker is a rather precise character who can struggle to keep up with Kirby at times, though edge guarding Kirby and getting Rebel's guard off of moves like Dare is very good in the matchup. Going into the Kirby player Discord also shed some light on the rest of the spacies as well. It's not just Fox that Kirby does well into, but Falco and Wolf as well. For similar reasons as we've already mentioned, but I figured it was noteworthy. The matchup chart also says that Donkey Kong in here is even, and I know a lot of people might be wondering why I'm bringing up Donkey Kong in a video about, you know, low tiers beating top tiers. And it's because Donkey Kong is the next character we're talking about. Real quick, I just want to sit here and do the YouTuber thing. If you like the content, then subscribe. I've gotten a handful of comments say that they didn't realize how small of a channel this really is due to the quality. And while I'm thankful I'm able to give the illusion of a professional, the only way I can actually hit that is if you guys subscribe. So, please do that. Does this graph entice you? Donkey Kong is said to have a good matchup on Cloud for as long as Cloud has been in Smash. Like, seriously, this was a topic all the way back in Smash 4, back when all DK needed to do was grab you at a funny percent and get a stock. However, it's a lot more nuanced in Ultimate. You see, this matchup comes down to the fact that, yeah, I'm just kidding, you get a grab at the funny percent and kill him. Specifically, DK's cargo throws on Cloud off stage make it damn near impossible for him to come back. alongside DK's big hitboxes also making it impossible for Cloud to get back to the ledge sometimes. This also leaves DK severely out-punishing Cloud. While Cloud can get a good advantage state, he doesn't have many strings or combos in general, and while he has slightly more on DK, DK has a much more true and harsh advantage state against Cloud. And alongside that, in neutral, DK doesn't really need to respect Cloud's spacing as much as other characters might. His back air and down B make for amazing spacing tools in his own right that Cloud needs to respect in order to keep up in the matchup. And quite frankly, a lot of other sorties do too. In Chunky Kong's own matchup chart, he does well against most sorties, going even with Lucina and Corrin and slightly beating Cloud and Broy, and just full-on beating Chrom, Ike, and Marth. No doubt in part to what I mentioned earlier. The sorties that seem to have much better matchups into DK seem to be more combo-oriented ones or zoner-oriented ones. Characters like Aegis, Pit, Sora, Younglink, and Meta Knight, being sorties that either just keep DK out or keep DK in disadvantage. A few examples of DK beating sorties in action is Rarikusu beating Spargo's Cloud, Chunky Kong beating Shattuck, and not much else. Yeah, there's not many high-level Donkey Kong mains, and I can surprisingly think of less high-level Cloud mains. So the matchup is also rather rare, which leaves it as a rare and tricky matchup for Cloud, meaning it's common that the average DK is going to have much more experience on Cloud than the average Cloud has on DK. And speaking of characters with minimal top representation that I main, let's talk about Pit. While Pit isn't low tier, he's definitely unpopular enough to put him in the topic for this video, alongside with being ranked in the middle section of the tier list. And there's quite a few matchups he actually does decent enough in to consider for this video. Noted Pit Coper and Indie Club Discord member Nora Neko Amber wanted me to mention Pit versus Game & Watch and is definitely not holding me at gunpoint to include it in this video. But being honest, it's a matchup that I've played and studied enough to see where she's coming from on it. Pit has solid range and very good genuinely true combos, two things that Game & Watch very much dislikes dealing with. Add in the fact that Pit's movement is deceptively good, with his initial dash sending him far enough away to outrange most of Game & Watch's moves, and add in Orbitars, which he has to help against Chef ledge trapping and up air juggling, it leaves Pit sitting pretty in the matchup. Specifically on the combos front, with Game & Watch being rather light and floaty, it leaves Game & Watch susceptible to a lot of Pit's more typically inconsistent drag down combos. Alongside that, Game & Watch being so light is perfect for Pit's dash attack and forward throws, both of which are already good kill moves, but on Game & Watch they're even better. The only examples we have to point of this, from what I can tell, are the hand cam recording of Zachary vs. Mia at Genesis, where Zachary won with Pit, and Zamba taking Game 1 as Dark Pit vs. Mia at Let's Make Moves Miami, with this being his only character out of the three to take a game that set. Amber notified me that this wasn't exactly a super close Game 1 either, with Zamba having a fresh stock left when he sent Mia packing into the blast zone. Though there is no VOD for this set, unfortunately. Now, I want to end this video off with a bang, a truly nothing character that nobody would expect to have good matchups into two of Ultimate's best characters, that being Steve and the aforementioned Game & Watch. And while it might not sound like it at first, listen to me when I say that I might have the answer.
Training!
I feel like I already need to defend this pick. While Ike isn't exactly popular or very good character in Ultimate, I believe he's definitely playable into Steve and Game & Watch. We'll start off with Game & Watch first. As I've already covered in the Pit segment, Game & Watch struggles hard versus characters with good disjoints and true combos, something that Ike actually has both of. Moves like Fair and F-Tilt are amazing at swatting away both an aerial approach and Game & Watch's bombs. Alongside this, Ike's safe fastfall Nair, which Game & Watch can actually kind of struggle to hit out of shield, leads to a treasure trove of combos and advantage state. And with how hard Ike hits, you can explode Game & Watch's stocks in 1 to 2 good interactions. Add in a few space down tilts that are tricky to punish, a decent early percent grab game for good mix-ups, and the fact that Ike can bait out Game & Watch's up B and punish it with his own out of shield, it leaves the matchup pretty playable versus the piece of paper. A huge example of this came at Riptide 2024. While Mia ended up reverse 3-0ing the set, Ike mained Roger from Kentucky nearly 3-0'd the number 2 player in the world. Despite the lack of a VOD, I've heard around a lot that Game 3 was nearly a win for Roger if Mia hadn't pulled it together. With Steve, it's a lot of the same. Ike's big sword is similar enough to Cloud's to allow moves like Nair and Fair to decimate blocks and minecart if he wants to, with Neutral B being an amazing 2-frame option if Steve gets too predictable when recovering. Add on Solid confirms due to Steve's extremely comboable weight and size, and it's a fairly straightforward game plan on Ike's side. There's just one problem with this. There's like no examples that come to me on this theory. Ike is a super niche character in today's climate, with the only top rep coming as Tora from Japan, who doesn't have a lot of sets versus either character, with the most notable things to bring up being a Game 3 versus Meister and a win on Susu. And I guess MK Leo's old pre-patch Ike, but other than that, this is pretty much down to a theory right now. If you're an Ike main watching this video, please genuinely do tell me how this matchup is in practice in the comments below. I'm genuinely really curious. So yeah, while all these characters might not be the best to solo main if your dream in life is to be the #1 player in the world as a solo main, shit, they've got a few pretty good matchups. There's also definitely matchups in this category I missed. With 90 characters in Ultimate, there's no doubt there's more cases where a top tier is totally fine running into Joker, but God forbid they run into Piranha Plant. But matchups like these are partially what keeps Ultimate interesting, at least in my opinion. Thank you for watching.
Show me your best at crystal blisters, it's all over now. Psycho can't use it, you're not anymore. Candy cane, cold, freak.